How's it going, everyone? I'm Sir James coming at you guys with another lightsaber video, and this time we have one belonging to an Inquisitor or former Inquisitor by the name of Marrok, which we've seen in Star Wars Ahsoka. I've been really excited to get my hands on the saber because, as you guys know, I've reviewed pretty much all the sabers from the show, but this was one in particular character that was missing for quite some time, and I've had my hands on this hilt for about 2 to 3 weeks now, and I have to say it's definitely been a lot of fun. Now, of course, this video was made possible thanks to Vader Sabers, which I'll have a link provided in the video description down below, along with my own discount code that you can use to save, whether it be towards this hilt or anything that they tend to offer, which is a nice wide range of selections, so you guys are aware. And by using my discount code, you are also supporting the channel, where I can continue to review cool stuff like this for you guys to enjoy. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and start by giving you guys a closer look, starting off, of course, with a distance with the rings folded down as they are now. And here is how it will look with the rings folded out, with the black design pattern facing you. Here's how the hilt will look if you were to flip it the other way around, and we'll touch more upon that in just a moment. Go ahead and bring these back down, and here is a closer look. Starting off with the emitter, this will use a 1-inch blade, and there are 2 blade plugs that are included in the accessories box. Now, the cool thing too about the emitter section is the shrouds here are flipped on each end. So as you can see on this side here, we have it where the shroud is facing down, but if we look directly on the opposite end, we can see that the shroud is now on top. Pretty neat. Over here we have our activation switch, and this is also a 1-button setup, so do keep that in mind. This is a Xenopixel type install, so pretty much identical on both ends. A few little minor differences basically in the center with your activation. We also have the speaker section, a hidden USB-C charging port, and there's also a hidden panel back here as well to get access to your SD card. We'll touch upon that in just a moment. Here is the ring pattern, as you can see. Nice aluminum type pieces. These aren't sharp, so I mean, they're gonna hurt if you were to jab it into something, but you're not going to cut or scrape yourself on anything if you were curious about that. But I know you were probably curious about the inside of this. So obviously you don't have those black outline details here, but you might notice that on each one has these 3 little sections here. And what are those? So these here are actually magnets. So when you have the rings closed in, they stay firmly attached, and they work quite well because while swinging the saber, which you will see here in just a short amount of time, is that I was using the hilt quite heavily in the folded state, whether I was using it with a single blade option or double bladed, and pretty much doing rough swings, and the magnets worked quite well to where the rings weren't going to get in the way whatsoever. Now, of course, to open this, do keep in mind that for the rings, one of them is fixed to the hilt, meaning that it's not going to move or adjust at all, while the other one is the one that you will be able to move in and out. Again, this one is fixed, the other one is not. When you do open this up, you will hear a slight click sound. See if you could hear it. Kind of locking the rings in place. Now, I will say that as far as the ring locking, it's not a strong lock, because if you were to use it, and let's say you were swinging, let's just, for example, I was holding it like this, and I kind of tilted my arm like this, you know, I just bent my wrist inward. By doing so, I've now obviously adjusted the ring so it's not going to stay firmly in place, or just, you know, things like that tend to make the ring come loose, which it's not an entirely big deal for a couple reasons. One, using it while the rings are out like this is already difficult as it is. Let's not beat around the bush there. If the saber had the function of being able to spin around, which by the way, it's not going to have that function. None of the Inquisitor sabers on the market have that function. If they did, a lot more people would be buying Inquisitor sabers. Let's just be straight up honest. And plus you'd be able to fly around like helicopters like in Rebels. But if you would like to lock that in place, if you're curious, I did notice that on the hilts on both sides there's a little hole here, and that hole is actually threaded. Now, while you do get retention screws specifically to use for your blade area, you don't really get that extra screw, or I don't think it was intended to be used with it. I'm not really sure in terms of what they choose to package with the hilt, whatnot. But point being, if you have a lightsaber collection, you probably already have a small retention screw, like a little skinny one, that you can fit into that little hole. And if you do so, you can actually lock the blade in place where they won't move whatsoever, so you can keep it locked where it is. But of course, without it, again, you could easily close the ring and open the ring back up, so just kind of be aware of that. Now, as I mentioned, you have your USB-C charging port on the side. Where exactly is that? Well, it's actually right here. You can notice this is kind of like, not as black, but kind of grayish looking piece here. That's actually a little rubber covering that is provided with the saber. A little hard to remove, but when you remove it, as you can see, you have your USB-C charging port. It's as simple as that. It's only a total of 1 charging ports, and that's pretty much all you need to use it with. And if you wish to get access to your SD card, as if you would like to add saber fonts, or if you want to tweak the saber fonts that it comes pre-included, maybe you want to rearrange them, remove some, add some, whatever the case may be, it's also very easy. So just below the activation switch here, and just above the speaker, you have this hidden panel right here. By removing a total of 2 little retention screws, or just little screws in general, you can remove this panel completely to get access to that SD card. Now, I will note that you would need something extra like a set of tweezers, which I'm sure most people probably have, to get access to that, because it's a little bit of a hard to reach area. But I recommend, before considering removing your SD card, to ensure that the firmware is fully updated, because this particular hilt is also supported with the mobile device. With the Xenopixel option, you also have, of course, the use of your mobile device, whether it's Android or iOS, and I'll show you in just a moment on how that works and where you'd go to update the firmware before removing the SD card. So let's go ahead and insert a blade, which I managed to have this off to the side here. And of course, before we fire this up, I want to also show you guys the box. I typically don't show the boxes too often because they tend to be straightforward, but because of this particular design of the hilts and uniqueness of it, you're actually going to be getting this in a couple different packages, so you are aware. Tighten this back up and bring that box over. So when you do get this, you'll probably find that your saber is going to come in 2 boxes. Your first one is going to be in a box like this, which is going to be for your hilts and the accessories for it entirely. Because as you can see, it's a large, well, there you go, large padded box that will fit everything right inside. Charging cable, all that, instruction, hilts, accessories box, a little USB dongle and whatnot. That little rubber piece that I showed you where you can remove to charge it, that's also going to be located in the accessory box, just so you are aware. Now, of course, do keep in mind that in order to connect it with your mobile device, you are going to need to ensure that your Bluetooth is enabled and the saber is powered on. In fact, let me grab my phone. Should have had that with me, but I had to mute Discord because it was going off like crazy. So like I said, make sure your Bluetooth is enabled on your mobile device. Make sure your saber is on like this.
Power on.
Where it says power on, your technically saber is powered on, so you don't have to actually have it, you know, with your, you know, blade out like that. But it's as pretty straightforward as that. Now the cool thing too, I will kind of mention, as far as detailing here on the emitter, is that you will get a light source that kind of bleeds out through these little holes here. The other neat thing too about the hilt is that it does come pre-included with gesture controls such as twist on, twist off, swing on, and of course you're able to customize that through the app as well. Now along with that, of course, you're able to change all sorts of things besides of course being able to swap to different saber fonts. You could also change the volume setting on the fly by holding the button down for just a fraction of a second.
Volume low. Use. Flash blade.
Oop.
Volume high.
Just like that. If you wish to change the effect of your saber blade, you're going to hold it down for about a couple seconds.
Fire blade. Steady. Unstable.
And it will change the effect of the blade. Like that one. I wouldn't recommend unstable. The unstable effect isn't the greatest.
Volume low.
Oop.
Use. Volume high. Rainbow blade.
Got your RGB blades there.
Volume low.
See, you gotta kind of remember how long to hold that.
Use. Volume high.
There we go.
Candy blade. Volume low.
See,
Use.
I keep doing that
Volume high.
by accident because I don't keep count.
Cracked blade. Pulse.
Pulse is the one that I tend to use. It gives it just a nice pulse effect of the blade. But you can go standard without any effects whatsoever, candy blade, all that fun stuff. Besides that, you could also change the effects in terms of what happens with the blade being lit up. So you just hold that down for about 3 seconds, let go,
Broken ignition.
and just like that,
Photon ignition. Flash blade.
wouldn't recommend flash blade.
Fire blade.
Nope, that's just the blade now. 1, 2, 3. Nope.
Stack ignition.
So as simple and easy as that. So let me go ahead and prop this up really quick, and hopefully it stays. Well, I'm not sure if it's going to stay, to be honest. It's a little bit of an awkward one to place. I just need a spot. Alright. Stay. Let's hopefully it stays where it's at. So let's go ahead and kind of redo that again.
App disconnected.
You go in there
App connected.
and it's going to connect. If it doesn't, I'll have an option to select the select it on there and to connect it like so. Now when you're on the app, you have fun things like you can go ahead and activate the saber. Just like that. In fact, let's go ahead and go to the proper saber font here, number 35 that I added. And now we have Marrok Saber right there. And we can go to different settings here, from lockup effects, color, modes right up here. A little bit hard to demonstrate here, but you have all those different options there on the top. That's from this upper section. Down here you can go ahead and you have access to a volume slider. You also have access to a music track, And right here is where you can go ahead and get access to your different lightsaber fonts that you have installed. Adding saber fonts is pretty straightforward. Now if you're just simply adding what's on here, by default it comes with 34 saber fonts. So meaning that I've added 35, 36, and 37. So these aren't normally named the same as usual. The folders are actually going to be named by number, just so you are aware. Alright, so go ahead and get out of there. Now if you wish to update your firmware, let me go ahead and just deactivate that. Go to the far setting. And oh, there you go. And make sure you select your saber. And you're going to want to go to firmware update and you select that. Now if there is an update, it will prompt you to install. If your saber is fully updated like mine is, then there's no prompt. So make sure you do that first before putting your SD card into your computer. And of course you have other settings. You can make custom saber fonts on your mobile device as well. And you have other settings such as the brightness of your blade, the blade length, and other customizations, and along with gesture controls and whatnot. If your saber has any kind of customized motor system in there, like a rotating kyber crystal, you can change the speed of that here. And if you have any form of LCD screens or side blades, you can also find that information within the app as well. So it's pretty a simple and set up process. Like I said, something cool to use. So especially if you just want to show off with your friend, go ahead and bring this out again. So it's like, oh hey, I could ignite my saber. And 3, 2, 1. Just like that. And then, I mean, that's one of the things that you can do, but like I said, plenty of things. So let's go ahead and take this outside. I know you guys are probably tired of me talking. You want to see it in action, so let's go ahead and do that right now. Welcome back everyone. I hope you enjoyed the outside demo while using the Marrok Saber and both the single blade option and double bladed option while the rings are remained folded down. That was the best case scenario of getting the best use out of the hilts. I did find that trying to use it while the rings are folded out was way too difficult, and to be honest, the only time the rings tend to be folded out anyways on an Inquisitor lightsaber is when they were using the spinning gimmick that the sabers tend to do, which obviously, since it doesn't do by default anyways, it's just best to kind of leave it folded in my humble opinion. Or if you're just going to display it, you can have it folded out, whichever one you want to go with. Now, on the off chance if it was a little bit too hard to hear the saber just because we were outside, well, I just want to go ahead and give you guys a quick little listen with specifically the Marrok Saber font by Kyberphonic. So let's go ahead and enable this in 3, 2, 1. Now again, with the blade, you can see that we do have a pattern here showing. Pretty nice. So overall, indoors, or if you're in a setting where there's not too much noise happening on the outside, then you could definitely hear the saber just fine. But of course, if there's any like loud noises, maybe you're at a theme park or whatever, then of course it's going to be indeed a lot harder to hear compared to most other sabers, where you could still hear it even with a lot of the extra noise, just probably because due to the fact that the speaker is probably on the smaller side, especially where the placement is entirely. Now overall, in terms of my use with the saber while swinging it outside, while swinging it quite heavily, I always look for things where they can tend to come loose or might break, anything that might scuff my hands or anything like that. I kind of always look into these things. So as far as the saber goes, there was nothing on the hilt that indicates that anything was sharp, ragged, or anything like that. Everything was smooth to the touch, and there was no cuts or scrapes on my hands while the constant use of using this over the course of 3 weeks, so which is great on that. And the other thing is, of course, well, what about parts? Are there anything in the saber to kind of be aware of or that might come loose or sort of? There's only really one particular piece that kind of felt like it was coming loose, sort of, but it was very minimum, so it's like very easy to tighten down. It's specifically the section up here where the charging port is located. You see these little black pieces here? These technically screw in, so my recommendation is to ensure that those are screwed down all the way. If you do end up using the saber in a heavy use setting like I was, just go back and just make sure those are tightened back down. That's pretty much it. But there was nothing to the point where it's like, oh, that is a major issue. Nothing like that. Everything on the hilt was pretty rock solid, and I didn't have any issues with that whatsoever. But like I said, the saber,
Power off.
thank you. So yeah, when you're not using it for a while, it will automatically power itself off, and you can set the timer. But as far as the hilt goes in general, when you first using it, it's gonna feel awkward and weird, but the more you like hold it, the more you practice swinging and stuff like that, I would recommend starting off a single blade option first and get a feel for it this way. Once you're more comfortable with that, go ahead and add the second blade and get a feel for how that is, going from switching from one hand to another, twisting in all sorts of different directions and things like that. But over time you start to get adjusted to it quite a bit, and I was actually quite surprised with how much I was able to maintain. I could have sworn I was going to drop this a few times, but surprisingly I didn't. I was pretty confident in how I was swinging. There was a few little hiccups that I did, which were of course edited out for sure, but I mean, at the end of the day, I was having a lot of fun using this hilt, and I can't wait to use this even more. The only downside is, like, I want to bring this with me to the Disney parks, but I know security is probably going to give me issues with it, probably because of this section here. I'm going to attempt to, alright? If I manage to bring this into the Disney park, you will find a photo of me at some point on my social media page posing in front of the Millennium Falcon with this hilt, if I'm able to get it past security. If not, then it's just going to be a different hilt entirely. But if there's probably one other thing that I would like, it's not an accessory in the box. In fact, I don't think there's even an accessory for this. I would like to have some kind of strap mechanism on the back, because you guys know most of the Inquisitors have their sabers connected like so onto their back. There was one that I've seen made, but I think it was specifically for the Grand Inquisitor. I don't think there's any other ones made for any of the other ones, but I would like something like that. I think that would be a cool one to have indeed. But let me know what you guys think about this help in the video description down below. Like I said, this is an awesome help. The fact that I got the chance to review a Inquisitor saber, specifically my favorite looking Inquisitor saber, and I'm like this excited about it and still am. It just goes to show that this was easily well worth the wait, in my opinion. But like I said, you guys can let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this review. I know there's a lot of talking to kind of go over a few focal points here and there, but until then, thank you for watching, and always remember, may the Force be with you.